In episode 40, we discussed the week that was, including say what battles. We're going to talk about Afghanistan, a lot going on there. We got a call in your shot talking about what we think the Minnesota Vikings record will be. We'll have an initials game where Jeremy and I will seek to be a bit more competitive, and we will take a look at Philippians 4:4-7 in Fix Your Eyes.
Welcome to Six in the Mix. A band of brothers talking faith, family, sports, and politics. Join us on our journey.
All right, welcome to episode 40 of Six in the Mix. Leave comments, topic suggestions on our Facebook page, probably the best way to connect with us. You can also find our videos on YouTube, and you can also listen to the audio versions at the regular spot, Spotify or Apple. Please like those podcasts, give them a 5-star rating, give them a thumbs up, share them alike. That would be fantastic. And share it with a friend would also be good. But let's jump into the week that was. We had certainly a lot going on. We're going to focus a fair amount on Afghanistan, but we're going to kick it off with a say what battle. And this is a battle. This is a battle that is a Biden administration 3-way battle. Okay, so we had it's really, there's not two, there's three, and so we're going to kick it off like that, and we got a 3-way battle, and here we go.
I have a sense that most of the criticism is not of leaving Afghanistan, it's the way that he has ordered it to happen by pulling the troops before getting these Americans who are now stranded. Does he have a sense of that?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not. We are committed to bringing Americans who want to come home. We are in touch with them via phone, via text, via email, via any way that we can possibly reach Americans to get them home if they want to return home.
There are no Americans stranded is the White House's official position on what's happening in Afghanistan right now.
I'm just calling you out for saying that we are stranding Americans in Afghanistan when we have been very clear that we are not leaving Americans who want to return home. We are going to bring them home, and I think that's important for the American public to hear and understand.
What you talking about, mister?
Does the president not know what's going on?
This is an incredibly emotional time for many of us, and including allies and partners who've been shoulder to shoulder with us in Afghanistan for 20 years at high cost to themselves as well as to us. They stood with us after 9/11, invoked Article 5 of NATO for the first time. An attack on one is an attack on all, and we've been there together. But I've got to tell you this, Chris, from the get-go, I've spent more time with our NATO partners in Brussels.
What you talking about, mister?
Will President Biden, after his remarks today, take questions? He's given a couple of speeches. He did the interview with ABC News, but the White House press corps and the American people have a lot of direct questions for him. Will he take those today?
The president never shies away from taking questions. I'll let him make a decision if he's going to take questions this afternoon. But you saw he just did a full sit-down interview on this just yesterday. So he is always willing to take questions, and I'll let him decide if he's going to do that after his remarks today.
Why do you continue to trust the Taliban, Mr. President?
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you, Commissioner. I really think it all works. I'm not supposed to take any questions, but go ahead.
Mr. President, on Afghanistan?
I'm not going to answer Afghanistan now.
Can you say facilities?
Okay.
What you talking about, mister?
All right, so we had a 3-way battle. What do you guys think?
I'll go first. I'll say that Chris Wallace interview. What a complete non-answer to the question. He was
seriously.
I could not get out. What question did you just answer? And I can't believe Chris Wallace didn't even call him on it. I hate when they do that. They just let it go. They don't answer the question. Well, just answer my question, please. That was pathetic. Yeah. Who is that? Was that Blinken? Blinken?
Yeah, that's Blinken. Yeah.
He's a clown. Oh.
All right, so we got one vote for Blinken.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go with Blinken as well. But I just want to say that it's not even a say what moment with Biden turning and walking away when there are 100 questions that need to be answered right now about some very serious things that are actually taking place. So I would say that the say what of just the nonsense of Blinken wins, but I am ticked about the say what of turn around and face us, Mr. President, and answer some questions. And if you don't have the answers, get some competent people in there to answer them for us, and not just for us, but for the American soldier, the American citizen that's over there in the Afghani. Just a sad set of circumstances, and unfortunately a say what moment.
All right, we got 2 votes for Blinken. Ryan?
Yeah, Matt, will you remind me the purpose of say what is the person talking isn't making any sense, right?
Yeah, it's trying to pick who was either the most confusing or the most misdirecting. So it's out of those 3 candidates, who do we think was would cause us to be like, what? That's the question.
Yeah, in that case, I would agree. I think it was Blinken, because the last person that was interviewed, she was a lady, and I think Hurricane Ida was behind her or something. She was just simply saying something that was a lie, saying that President Biden always takes questions, and in a sense, that was just a straight up lie. Versus Blinken, as you guys already mentioned, he just walked away. He just gave some blah blah answer to the question that Chris Wallace had, and usually Chris Wallace doesn't let people get away with that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would actually disagree with you guys. I think Blinken gave an answer, because that's like the liberal way is to kind of talk all around it. He gave an answer. He basically, yes, he has absolutely no clue what's going on, because it's a very emotional time. And he can't be expected to keep logical thought and order and leadership. It's a very emotional time with everything that's going on. He answered the question. He basically said, yes, Biden does not know what's going on. But I'm gonna go with the winner was, and unfortunately I don't have her name, but yeah, the gal that had some weather behind her. I think that was the craziest one, where she did right, exactly right. She just straight up lied. Oh, he's never shied away from questions, and I could have played 20 clips out of the last 22 presidential speeches where no questions. And then that last, I don't know if you guys caught that last clip just happened tonight. He was talking about, the Hurricane Ida. And so the first question somebody wants to ask him, which is interesting, is not about Hurricane Ida, was Afghanistan. Yeah. He's like, no, he's pulling the plug. He's out of there.
Yeah, that was tonight. Oh my God. Did he turn to the side and not know where to go? Did that also happen, or was he like confused as to where he was and where he should go, or was he just, because that's what it looked like, and I thought that was another video where he turned to the side and had no idea to go or where he was.
Yes, yeah, he didn't know what he was saying. He jumbled his words, at the end of it, and then he didn't know where to go. It's so unbelievable. But yeah. Anyway, so.
I just want to jump in here. I know we're going to be talking about prayer later on, but we really do need to pray for the guy, right? I mean, it's
a fair point.
We have, I don't know why, even I think there was some criticism about his wife allowing him to run for office, maybe knowing his capacities right now. So you can't really, you can question the American voters. He set a record, though, right? 85 million votes in the last election.
Ryan, your number keeps going up every single podcast. It was like 75, then it went to 80. Now we're at 85. Where are you getting
he found some more ballots stuffed in the back of a truck.
I mean, it's just a sad state of affairs that we have a president and we now look feeble because he's the face of our country, but yet we're still, as believers, told to pray for our leaders. And so to answer your question though, Matt, that's why I was trying to differentiate. Are we talking about say what in terms of who's telling us the biggest pile of baloney or who's throwing us into more confusion? So I see a case for both. Yeah.
I've got actually have a bonus battle for us. So what's interesting is former President Trump also gave a speech the day of the suicide attack in Afghanistan. And so what I want to do is just play about the first minute of President Biden's speech versus President Trump's speech. I don't know if you guys saw President Trump's speech, but just to kind of compare and contrast a little bit. Yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily a battle, but I think it is. There's just a fairly clear distinction between the two. So here we go.
A tough day. This evening in Kabul, as you all know, terrorists attacked that we've been talking about and worried about, that the intelligence community has assessed, has undertaken an attack by a group known as ISIS-K. Took the lives of American service members standing guard at the airport and wounded several others seriously. He had also wounded a number of civilians, and civilians were killed as well. I've been engaged all day in constant contact with the military commanders here in Washington and the Pentagon, as well as in Afghanistan and Doha. And my commanders here in Washington in the field have been on this with great detail, and you've had a chance to speak to some so far. The situation on the ground is still evolving, and I'm constantly being updated.
As one nation, America mourns the loss of our brave and brilliant American service members in a savage and barbaric terrorist attack in Afghanistan. These noble American warriors laid down their lives in the line of duty. They sacrificed themselves for the country that they loved, racing against time to rescue their fellow citizens from harm's way. They died as American heroes, and our nation will honor their memory forever. I want to express my deepest condolences to the families of those we have lost. Today, all Americans grieve alongside you. Together, we also pray that God will heal the other courageous American service members who were wounded in this heinous attack. In addition, our hearts are with the families of all the innocent civilians who died, and with the many men, women, and children who were terribly injured in this act of evil.
All right. Any thoughts on the two different speeches about the same thing?
Well, one appeared to be awake, and the other one appeared to be just breathing. Just breathing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it was, I don't think we've got to necessarily belabor it, but it was just interesting to watch, the pacing. And I mean, I think trying to be a little bit fair, obviously President Trump probably isn't necessarily going through the grueling, updates and, round the clock, if it is around the clock, updates and such, and the weight probably doesn't feel the weight as much, but it was so interesting, just the stark contrast. I think one of you guys called it out, just the face that we're presenting to the world as far as confidence and here's our strategic vision and here's our plan. It's very scary. It's very weak. It's very, it's very much a real struggle. And I do feel bad for the guy. I think he's not the one that's in control. He's the puppet head for whoever else is pulling the strings behind him, whoever's telling him to talk to which reporter's asking the questions. Did you guys get that? They instructed me after that. Here's who who's they? Like it's just it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
I think, I don't know if you saw later on when President Biden was giving that address to, I don't know if it was a press conference or just talking to the nation, but did you see that pose he took where I think it was after the Fox News reporter he called on and he just kind of crumbled? And, what does that show? It shows a guy, like you said, Matt, he's under the strain that President Trump isn't under right now. He regardless of that, he's in a very feeble physical condition and mental condition from everything we can gather. And I guess I'm just feeling sorry for him at this point. I feel terribly that he's going through what he's going through. He signed up for the job, and the 25th Amendment is out there, and it sounds like both sides are talking more and more about it. If he's the one who made this decision to pull us out with these consequences, those drum beats are going to get louder.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. I think it was Greg Gutfeld who said something to the fact that Greg Gutfeld from Fox News, he said something to the fact that President Biden was elected to win the election and not elected to lead the nation. So it's just, he won the election, but boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to something this week too that struck home with me, and I actually asked myself professionally the question. There are some jobs that there are people that are in the job that do not belong there. They just don't belong there. Maybe they just don't have the capability, the skill, the ability to adjust or to grow into the position, and they just hit their own ceiling for whatever their own God-given, talent has been reached, and they're just not going to go further than that. And they shouldn't be in the job. And I feel like, we elected somebody who just can't do it. He can't get it done. And even if he did have the mental capacity at this point, I don't know that, the stress of all of the things that we see happening right now. I mean, hurricane, war, coronavirus, pandemic, you name all and that's in southern border, just to name the four big ones, not to mention, that there's hundreds of thousands of little fires burning in Washington. And one man's going to take that on, even with the staff. That's amazing. That's just an impossible job. And yet there are some people who are built to do that. God gifts them the ability to get through all of that quagmire to figure out, okay, what really needs to be done, and then do something about it. We just don't have that with this president, unfortunately.
Yeah, certainly we do need to pray for him as Christians and believers. We need to uphold him in prayer. He still is the leader that God put in charge of our nation. So we definitely need to uphold them through prayer. Last thing of the week that was Hurricane Ida hit Louisiana, I think, directly today. And I just had a question kind of related to that. And certainly we pray for the folks down there and that they'll make wise decisions and that hopefully all lives will be spared. But it's a massive hurricane. I think they said one of the biggest ever to hit Louisiana. So we certainly hope that it won't be as bad as Katrina, but it might be. Question: have you guys ever been in a hurricane or tornado? And if not, what's the most severe weather you've ever been through? Ryan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I've been through some tornado warnings where I've taken shelter, but I don't think the tornado did damage within a mile of where I was. Both, I think, in Minnesota that happened once or twice, and then in Missouri that happened. And actually in Oklahoma, I stayed in Oklahoma for a year and a half, and within our first 2 months there was a tornado warning, so we were all in the basement for a while. But more significantly than that, I actually have been in a hurricane before. When I attended Pensacola Christian College, there was a hurricane back, I think it was 1995, so late summer 95, Hurricane Opal. And so I remember we all had to get inside the hallways from our dorm rooms and just shelter in the hallways. And thankfully all of the students, staff were safe, but the campus did sustain some damage. Some roofs, I think, were taken off, and of course some other collateral damage. But yeah, God spared human life in that time. But yeah, kind of interesting. I can actually say I've been in a hurricane, even though I spent most of my life in Minnesota.
Wow. Don, how about you?
Yeah, I don't think I've obviously never been through a hurricane, and never have in all my years here in Minnesota been involved seriously in a tornado. My family growing up, I never went to the basement for anything. There could have been, and who knows, I might have gone through a tornado. I just didn't know anything about it. I was probably still stuck in my room playing video games. I don't know. If the power went out, I was like, oh, what's going on? And I don't know. Yeah, who knows? But yeah, now that I have a family now, I'm going downstairs like all the time.
Wait. Time out. What? you said when you were growing up, you just did not pay any attention to the warning, like the sirens going off.
We never went downstairs. Never. My parents, we'd sat in front of our picture window and watched it go down. We didn't know any better. I didn't know any better.
I do like that approach, but interesting. They kept the kids up there doing that too.
Yeah, clearly pre-bunker Don.
Yeah, right. Get real close to the glass, kids.
The only time, and that came back, that almost bit us, because when that was happening, there was a lightning strike behind our house, and it just rocked the whole house and everything, and I thought it literally was like a bomb went off, and one of the trees behind, we lived in a pretty wooded area, and one of the trees behind us fell and came like inches away from crushing the house. So it was crazy, but
I'm calling for some sister verification on that. So I've got 2 call outs for the sisters. Please verify that.
Well, they were not there. It was I can only say it was just my mom and me at the house. So they, who knows where they were? They were probably off in college.
Probably out in the backyard, videotaping it.
Yeah, never went downstairs. Totally a foreign concept. Then when I got married, Jen was like, "We're going downstairs." I'm like, "What? For what?"
That's awesome. Jeremy, how about you?
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, I grew up in Phoenix, and there were no tornado warnings or any warnings at all. I mean, it was like, you had heat warnings, but there wasn't like these horns or sirens going off. And I remember I was at, Owatonna, first Saturday noon, and the tornado siren went off, and I was like, what? That's like a bomb raid siren. What is going on? I didn't know anything about noon whistles. So there we go. That was my first introduction. But while I was in Owatonna, I met a guy named Adam Taylor, who took me on a cross-country trip to coach basketball camps, and we were in Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma in the summer, so there's this thunderstorm, and we're driving down the interstate, and all of a sudden we see this funnel come down right, like parallel to it, and we were just driving right next to it, and I'm just looking at it, and he's from there, so he's like, "Oh yeah, this happens all the time." I'm like, "It's right there." He's like, "I will outrun it. We're good. We're ahead of it." So that got me a little nervous about tornadoes. But ever since then, I'm like done. The siren goes off here in the Midwest. I'm outside looking around, checking it out. I don't stay inside. I go outside. I want to see the mess outside. And then when it starts raining, we come back in. But never been in a hurricane. I'll tell you the thing that scared me most, though, which was not on your list, is a volcano eruption. Okay. I was in Nicaragua. Okay, I'm in Nicaragua. And I'm at this ABWE missionary base, and about 20 miles to the north of us is a mountain that started smoking the second day we got there. And the missionary's like,
I'm done.
That doesn't usually happen, but they've told us if that does blow up, we got about 10 minutes, and then that's about it. So, like, really? So anyway, that got my attention more than anything. And there's no sirens or warnings. It's just like there's smoke coming out of the mountain. So you might, want to prepare. So anyway, that's scary.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing, boy. And so it did not go off. I mean, it did not erupt when you were there. It just
apparently it just does this from time to time. It was a vent that was just letting off some steam, and then there was an actual volcano that we went to that you could actually see, and part of the volcano was, you could see the red, turbulence of it down there, and it was relatively safe, I guess. I mean, it was an experience. I'll never forget it. Sulfur smell, wow, it was heavy in the atmosphere, hard to breathe, but worthwhile looking at the earth kind of and what it looks like from the molten side of it. I couldn't pass that up. I had to do it. And Amber wasn't with me, so I could say yes, and she didn't, she had no idea. So there we go.
That's it. Yeah, I've got 3 events. One was I was a boy. We were living in a townhome in Brooklyn Park, and we had some family over, and we had a big picture window, and it was looking off, I think, to as I recall, looking off to like the northeast. I believe it was. and there were some thunderstorms and like tornado watch, and I saw a tornado. I actually saw one come down. Now it wasn't a big one. I think it was like an F1, but I said that, and I must have been like 5, 6, or 7, somewhere around there, really young. And I said, guys, there's a tornado. And they all kind of, no, Matt, quiet. And they went back. I was like, no, guys, there's a tornado. And they turned around and looked, and I still remember that as a little boy looking out and seeing it. It was white. It was not a big one, but it was an actual tornado. And I remember we drove by and saw some trees down after that. Thankfully, it didn't do a lot of damage. The next one, we were up at camp team. And I remember me and my buddy Zach were on like we were doing serve team. So that was when high schoolers did like the 5th and 6th grade camp. And and this was just into Wisconsin, and it had a massive tornado warning, and the sky started turning like green. And Greg James, who was the head of Camp Clearwater, told us, hey, I need you guys to go down to the barn and get some barrels. They were concerned if like one of the gas tank ruptured, that we would try to contain that. And so man, my adrenaline was pumping. So we jumped, I think, in like the van or the truck and went down to the barn, which was probably a good half mile from like where you would, the main lodge area. And I remember we got the barrels and came back up. Now, thankfully, no tornado was there, but man, the sky was the greenest I'd ever seen it. So there was probably one around, or it was close. I remember that. And then as a family, we were driving down to Georgia. We were in Georgia, actually, going to see Justin and Alyssa. This was many years ago, probably 15, 14 years ago. And I think some straight line winds came through as we were driving, and there was trees falling on the highway and stuff like that. And it was a bit crazy there too, but we didn't, when you're in a car, you don't really know what's going on. You couldn't hear anything on the highway. You're probably not sirens around, but we come to find out some straight line winds came through where we were driving, and thankfully we didn't get hit by a tree limb or something. But yeah, it's certainly wild. The ferocity of wind and water can certainly wreak some damage. So interesting times. Prayers for those in Hurricane Ida's wake right now in their path. All righty. Well, we're going to turn it over to the main topic. Jeremy's going to get us kicked off.
Well, gentlemen, it was 2001 September when I remember my very first teaching assignment, my year. And I was in a classroom, and I was teaching a group full of kids who I think were there excited to learn. And I remember having, my classroom set up, and everybody was doing their work. And it was probably, I don't know. It was an interruption that I wasn't expecting, but an interruption happened where a pastor from our church came in, and he just kind of motioned to me and said, hey, I need you. And so I kind of quit what I was doing at my desk. I got up and I walked out. We walked in the hallway, and he said, I don't know if you're going to believe this, but we've just been hit from a terrorist group, and the Twin Towers are basically on fire, and they've exploded them. And I thought, what? It just didn't register with me. And so I sat there for a second. I thought, man, that's really bad. I remember we prayed quick, and I just kind of did a quaint prayer, pray for those people. And, I kind of wanted to just return to my classroom. I know bad things happen. And sometimes if you're not right there and you don't have anybody who's part of that, it just really doesn't, affect you too much. And then about 20 minutes later, I was online at that point, and I was looking at a couple of things. And then I actually had a radio back in that day. I turned the radio on to the news, and it was just like morbid. Like I could hear the tone of the announcers, and everybody was just like, it was something I'd never experienced in my life.
Right.
And so I turned the TV on, and we were able to adjust the bunny ears that we had in my classroom, and we actually got the signal of Green Bay Station, and all I saw was the towers and the fact that one had that plane fly into it, and then the second one, and the carnage that was taking place. And then gravity really hit, and I was like, we're at war. I mean, this is nothing but war. This is more than just an attack to say, hey, we're here as the Taliban, or hey, we're here as Al Qaeda, or hey, we are, we want to be recognized. It was like, we are going after the West, and we're specifically going after Americans. And I remember being very ticked at that group of people and very heartsick for the people that were dying or had died. And I remember that night when President Bush got on TV and addressed the nation. And I don't think I have ever had goosebumps and just this feeling and sense of pride as an American as when he got done with his speech and basically said to everybody in the world, specifically to those who were responsible, that they would not see the light of day. We were going to come after them with everything we had. And we went. And we ended up invading Afghanistan, trying to get Osama bin Laden and all of the leadership there. And we have existed there for 20 years. And of the last week or so, and really it's been a little bit longer than that, even look at the past presidents who have wanted to kind of finalize that war there and try to pull troops out. There's been some questions. Do we win? How? What's the strategic move here? Do we keep our troops at least an air base there so that we can have access to Russia, to China, some other places that are really strategically, geostrategically placed where we need to get at those places? What is the right thing? And I know that administration from administration, president change to president change, there's been a policy or a doctrine that has kind of ensued because of all of these things. And then we're here today looking at what has happened. I don't think you can look at what's happened over the last couple of weeks and say that this is anything but an absolute devastating atrocity. It is hell. And some of these people who are going through it right now, including Americans, this could have been avoided, at least in a mass carnage situation or a mad rush to get out of this place, this country. So tonight we're going to look at, and we're going to discuss a little bit, maybe from the past of 9/11 to the present of what's going on here. And we're just going to kind of look and talk about all of these things. And I have to admit, there is probably more anger right now that emotionally that I'm going through as you go through these traumas and you watch this thing happen. I'm not done with being ticked. I'm not done with being angry, because if I put myself in those people's shoes or an American shoes or an American soldier's shoes over there, I'm not happy at all. I can't see how the way that this has gone down has been America's best foot forward, or America first, if you want to use that line. So let's evaluate, let's look, let's talk about these things. And I'm going to throw it over to Ryan to start off with, and then we'll go to Matt and Don. And what are your thoughts about this Afghanistan debacle, known as the 20-year war here? Bush brought us in, Biden take us out. What do you got?
Yeah, I think as time has gone on, my shifting on this has changed just to some degree. Like you said, Jeremy, with President Bush, I really appreciated his leadership after. There was so much. Those were good days, weren't they?
Do you remember all the ribbons on the fences and the yellow ribbons?
Yeah.
And everybody putting stuff up, and the whole U.S. just coming together and being like,
"Well, yeah." That was 20 years ago. I'm not clearly what happened was a terrible tragedy, but the unity that we had and love for country just 20 years ago. You look at us today, and wow, it's almost like a generation or two has passed in terms of national unity, which is just terrible. But I digress. I think, you've got differing voices, and this isn't a party issue. There are folks in both parties who have different feelings on what the right approach should be. And I think where we stumbled in our approach to what should be done, we were certainly right and justified to go look for terrorists, namely bin Laden, who apparently wasn't there in the end, but he may have spent time there, and certainly there were some cells that were training there. I think our job should have just been to clear out and stay nearby and just keep an eye on things the best that we could. We've seen this in Iraq too. We like the idea of bringing a democracy and freedom to other countries because we have thrived on it. We've enjoyed it for 250 some years. but it doesn't work. And the risk, of course, is having so many soldiers stationed there and harm coming their way. And what's the point? If the people there don't want it, we're not in a dynasty building situation. We're not a communist country. Our job isn't to take over lands. We can encourage them with things, but I think we were just not focused enough on what our job is, do the job specifically, and then get out of there. And so, and the longer you're there, the more time and treasure you're investing. You've got a financial treasure. You've got soldiers' lives. You can look back and say they give their lives, and if we just up and leave, that's for nothing. So all these different components keep adding up to build the rationale why we should stay there. So I'm probably a bit where I was like, yeah, let's go in, stay, and make sure nothing comes out of these places. I'm a little bit more of an isolationist at this point, but I know there are a lot of interests in Washington, D.C. that really want war, and they feast off of war. That's how they get paid. So I'm just saddened by what I've seen this past week. Like you said, Jeremy, my heart goes out to these families that have lost these loved ones, and we need to be praying for them. And hopefully we don't see any more of this in the days ahead. Tuesday's a big day. That's the deadline. We said we're going to be out. And it sounds like we killed some terrorists today who are on their way to blow up a few more areas, a few more bombs. So thankfully that was stopped.
Right, Matt?
Yeah. I think you said it well, Jeremy. It was an act of war back then, and it was such a unique feeling I'd never felt before. I think it was like you don't even know where to turn, right? I think everybody's looking at each other, and we had heard about World War I and World War II, but it was like, man, is this going to launch us into something bigger? And I think wars now are maybe a bit different. Who knows? God, hope that we never have to get into like a World War III type thing. But yeah, just remember that time and saying, okay, once we figured out who it was or where this group came from, and I can't remember if they took responsibility or we were able to find out with our intelligence. But yeah, we went in and we absolutely got a foothold, and we said, okay, let's drive him back. Let's figure it out. And ultimately, it took about 10 years to get the mastermind behind it. I think they got him in Pakistan in 2011. But, I think, one of the great things about America is it does have a heart. And when we go in and we see the plight of nations that are not run with a democracy, with a love for all, with a respect for men and for women, I think it's hard for probably even the generals or even the politicians to turn a blind eye to that. So as easy and as right as the decision might be to be like isolationists, okay, we're just going to take care of our interests. I don't know. I think America's founding on Christian principles and just who we are in caring for each other probably led us to feel like, wow, look at the plight of the children here. Look at the plight of the women. Look at can we bring this in and can we help make it a better place? And I think there's probably testimonies from thousands, maybe tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, who knows, maybe millions of people whose lives are better because we were there. But again, at what cost? And can we just do that forever? And why not in every nation? And I think that's where the challenge of government. We talked about the weight that a president bears. It's just amazing, like all these decisions, and you could probably have great arguments on either side. How do you decide? But I think the thing that was most frustrating is, our exit from Afghanistan. I don't think needed to be whole. I think we should have, to Ryan's point, kept a contingency there to keep them at bay. The Taliban in charge is not great, but just the fact that it was done in such a horrific way to trap so many and bring so much chaos and allow the Taliban to take over a matter of 11 days. Like when I think some of the intelligence was saying, well, they won't be there till like late fall. Like what happened there? People are always the January 6th commission. Forget that. Like, are you serious? Yeah, the guy with horns on, jumping on a desk, and we want to freak out about that. But we got this. Like there should be absolute commissions and investigations. How in the world did Biden either not understand what was going on, but obviously information feeding up to him too as well. Like if he just completely ignored it, then that's on him. But like, how are these generals deciding that this is the right way to do it? It seemed so obvious that we should have done a very clear evacuation early on. And I know that the State Department said, hey, get out. But you got to be like very intentional with that. You got to go get your people. Hey, we're coming out. And if we're going to pull out, we're going to not give you any collateral to hold on to or give us to attack while we're coming out. It's Jeremy. It's infuriating.
It is.
It's really sad.
It is. Don, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, 9/11 was a defining moment, obviously in all of our lives, and will always be a defining, time. We'll remember it. We'll remember the day. We'll remember everything that we felt, how we felt, what we felt, the pictures and images on the screen, the announcers, everything is just burned into our memory. And what I find ironic, for lack of a better word, is that we didn't know we didn't really know much about the enemy after September 11th, right? I mean, we were like, okay, what ISIS or Al Qaeda or Taliban? What are these words? Muslim extremism and all this stuff. We just were like, what is going on? What is this? And in 20 years, we still don't seem to understand the enemy. We don't want to read what their beliefs are. We just want them to come under our umbrella of democracy and be like us and our woke white privilege culture and everything that comes with it. It's infuriating to me to think that our government was in negotiations with the Taliban, and that goes back to the Trump administration as well.
Right.
What were they thinking? And when I was looking into how this fell apart so fast, let's get some perspective. The Trump administration, they did negotiate with the Taliban. They were also saying that they had to go to the table, the Taliban with the Afghan government, come to a peace agreement, and then go from there. Now, under the terms of the agreement that the Trump administration did do with the Taliban, none of this would have happened because obviously there would not have been a peace agreement established, because you just can't negotiate with terrorism. You can't negotiate with them. And I think they knew that. And so the original date for the Trump administration was May 1. And so this idea or this lie that's being filtered out and peddled out by the administration, that he inherited this mess, that he inherited this deal that that President Trump had negotiated with the Taliban, is a complete falsehood. And please do not believe any of it. Now, I'm not saying Trump was he was perfectly clear and correct in all of his policies, especially,
or could even control all of it.
Right, exactly. But he at least had a plan in place. And when the Biden administration came in on January 20th, that all went out the window. They didn't care for it. What Biden saw was an opportunity to get to have a hero of the day on September 11th by saying he was withdrawing all the troops on September 11th. The 20-year war is over. That was the original plan for Biden to withdraw the troops. This August 31st, that was the date they negotiated with the Taliban, if I'm not mistaken. This is not something that Biden is coming up with. And he's completely off base and in the clouds when it comes to these matters. And this is why foreign policy makes a difference in each and every one of our lives, because this is why it's important, because we're seeing now the demise, the humanitarian crisis that is happening, horror stories coming out of Afghanistan of fathers shooting their daughters so they do not come under the rule of the Taliban and our I mean, it's just excruciating. And to think that these military advisors, because mind you, the Trump administration had included to hold on to the Bagram airfield as a point of strategic combat. I mean, that's where they were going to leave their operations. They still had prisoners from Al Qaeda and other terrorist organizations held up there. But as soon as the Bagram airfield was turned over to the Taliban, they of course
unlocked the doors, baby.
Unlocked the doors, and they've got hundreds of terrorists roaming now. That wasn't going to be the case if Trump was still in the presidency. That plan was, to be honest with you, that I often wonder if they were setting up, President Trump was setting up the Afghan government to get rid of the president, Ghani, I think his name is. I don't think they liked him. I think they were trying to groom somebody else. But to have a Taliban and an Afghanistan government, it just seems like a pipe dream, and I don't see it ever coming to fruition. But that would have meant that there would still been about 800 to 1,000 troops left in Afghanistan to be able to combat the terrorist threats and somewhat protect the Afghani people there. So this whole notion that Biden inherited this mess from the Trump administration is complete garbage. And it just makes me sad that what we've seen in the last week and a half has just come. I was at a men's conference last week, and one of the gentlemen I spoke to was a vet, and he had just come off his tour, moved to Minnesota with his family. The rage and fire in that man's eyes was undistinguishable. It was just, I'll never forget that, because he was ticked. He was like, they left so many people behind. All my friends died for what? For nothing, and I was just shaking my head, and I came up with, I just told him, I was like, your friends, you didn't let us down. Our government let us down, and our government let you down. So don't think that, this is on you guys. And it's just a sad day to think that we have generals and leaders and lieutenants and administration pulling the strings on these things. And we're just shaking our head left, wondering who's really in charge. Why is this all happening? So it was a tough week.
Yeah, and one thought too, Don, like the administration, Biden administration saying that, well, the Trump had this thing, we couldn't do anything, is so disingenuous, because on January 20th, how many executive orders were written to overturn everything? Right. And the fact that now he's playing victim to what the Trump administration did in that is foolishness, right? If he would just come and say, hey, the buck stops with me. Once I took over, I'm in control of stuff, but not. He says the buck stops with me, and that's what's frustrating. That's the lack of leadership. And that's what's going to continue and hopefully not spiral into something crazier. But I don't have any confidence with foreign policy for the next 3.5 years. It's a very scary time.
Yeah, for me, I mentioned I'm still kind of in this angry phase, and I hope that goes away from my heart quickly, because I don't like what that does to me inside. I'm not typically just kind of like, I don't enjoy being angry no matter what. But part of what has spurred some of that on, Don, is exactly what you said. I have students who have spent years in Afghanistan, and they're just putting their hands up going, what just happened? There are kids that play Risk as a board game that could strategically have done better job holding on to parts of the country without letting everybody just attack. And the air base there, in my estimation, fine. Let's keep that, and let's keep as minimal troops there as possible. But for goodness sake, if the CIA is out of there and we have no intelligence whatsoever, and we as an American, nation, and our president has to be in contact with the Taliban, constantly telling them, hey, don't do that. Don't do that. Remember what we talked about. Don't do that. Remember what we talked about. And that there is shovel loads of cash going underneath the table, so that the administration and the whole military right now doesn't really look like an absolute disaster so that we can somehow get those Americans to that airport and out of there. You know that there's being deals cut right now with the Taliban, and they are requiring more and more and more of our stuff. That's what the terrorists do. And if they got you in that mode, they are winning. And what our president did is stood up there and said some things about Afghanistan, and the buck stops here, and then put his head in his hands and has had some of those defeating moments and poses. I don't identify as an American like that. And it's not just because I'm an American. It's because I want wrong to be out of here. And we are going to eradicate evil. Part of the problem with our world is we'll never be able to undo all the evil in the world. But if my daughters and my wife are going to become sex slaves of the whole scenario, the Taliban and all of the ridiculousness that they would see as their rights and all these things, Don, I don't know. I mean, I would hate to think about what I would do to try and keep my kids safe. Short of laying my life down, I would do that gladly. But then what? You know, they have their way with them. I can't imagine that. The Afghani Christians, the Afghani pastors, and here's the biggest thing that I've taken away this week was this. And I don't even remember where it came from, who said it, or if I read it somewhere. But they were talking about the fact that, you know, we're trying to get all these Afghanis out of there. And the question was asked, why? And the answer came back, and I thought, that's exactly right. They said, we've westernized the Afghan people. They're westernized. They got a taste of freedom. They got a taste of how America does things. They got a taste of what it's like to live in non-oppression. And they saw it in our military. They saw it in the leadership that was there. And now they're willing to cling on to an aircraft wing or a wheel just to try and get off that airbase. And they will risk their lives. They will be run over. They will fall off those aircraft because they know that getting out of there is so much better than what's coming in. And it is going to stay for a long time. Ironically, to use Don's word, we're going to have to go back. We're going to have to, through the UN or some other ally group, we're going to have to go back. And what it might cost us is an attack on our U.S. soil again. And you don't think that these people are going to just say, 9/11, we hit those two buildings. But the NFL looks pretty nice to me. Let's hit one of those stadiums, baby. Let's really make a mark. What, 90,000 people cloud into a college stadium? COVID, nothing. Let's make it so clear that we hate Westerners. We hate America. We hate God. We're going to take them out. I think we just opened the door. We needed the airfield. We did not need to give them Apache helicopters, 20,000 live grenades, and the whole gamut of weaponry, including night vision, and uniforms, so that we can go over and we think that's an American soldier, but it's an Afghani shooting our American soldier because we thought maybe friendly fire wouldn't be too good. We're in such a pinned position there. There's nothing good that's going to come out of that. And only God is going to allow the people out that he lets out. And what our special forces go and do right now is going to be absolutely amazing. And I just want to give a shout out to other nations, by the way, who actually stepped up and did some of the work for the U.S. and led in such a way and, got some of our U.S. and some of our actual diplomats, and not diplomats, but people who were, very close to the Afghani people out. They led that in that charge. That should have been us. It wasn't. So we better learn a lesson, and we better never let this happen again. But I think we said that once upon a time, didn't we? Never forget. Somehow I think we did. And it just is irritating the fire out of me. So instead of being angry, we got to pray. And we do. We've got to pray fervently for these men and women and children and our soldiers and everybody who needs to get out of there so that we can.
Yeah.
And by the way, we've got Afghanis now in Wisconsin. They're about 2 hours away, and it's interesting. we'll see what happens there. But they're in Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, and I know they're going to air base or bases all over the United States, and they're just going to continue to filter in. And welcome to the U.S. Except hopefully your life doesn't have to be written in the history of this mess, but can flourish. The United States of America. So for those who are here for the right reasons, welcome. If you're a terrorist and you're in that group, know this: you come anywhere close to hurting an American, I will be first in line to join our forces. And I don't care how old I am or how slow I am, I will go after you just like any soldier would, with a direct vision and mission to take out the enemy. I'm coming for you.
Jeremy, I don't know what you're worried about. We got the TSA watching us. We got the Border Patrol watching us. We're good, man.
Yeah,
Facebook, Twitter. Yeah,
they're all doing a great job. I see nothing. What are you in Colonel Clink doing?
Wow, that was well said, Jeremy. That's a great finish on that topic, man. That was good. All right, Ryan. Turn it over to you for a calling your shot. We haven't had one of these in a while, hey?
Yeah, it's been a while. But we are approaching one of our favorite times of the year. I don't want to speak for everyone in this group. I feel like Don has kind of mentioned in times gone by, he is not that much of a football fan these days. But typically, a lot of folks around these parts are pretty excited about the start of the football season. And so most of us are Vikings fans by nature. And I thought it would be good to make our predictions here for the upcoming season. We know Matt is going to be shooting for the moon once again with his prediction. So why not start with probably the most optimistic prediction, Matt? What do you have for the Vikes in terms of a record this year?
I'm going to go 12-4. 12-4. Yeah, and again, it could be 16-0, but I'll be conservative. We'll go 12-4. Offense has got me a little bit worried, but our defense is going to be hangry. Every game we're going to be hangry. We go do some chomping.
Yeah, I think you're right. They will be improved this year, the defense.
Yeah. The line, especially. Hopefully the linebackers. I think is Anthony Barr back yet, or is he might miss week 1 or 2? So I think linebacker core might be a hair weak to start off the season. But our cornerbacks got significantly better. Our line got demonstratively better. It's going to be exciting if that defense gels. That could be. You remember the Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl? That dominating defense. If they can come together and stay healthy, I think they can be very, very formidable.
Okay.
Wait. So hold up. Isn't there aren't we under a 17 game schedule now?
That's what I was going to ask.
So,
man, you're right. 13-4.
already had it changed for you.
Yeah, good call, Don.
I was going to go with the tie. I don't know. I thought I'd throw in a tie.
No, I think I was going to say just let him leave that, and if he doesn't play that last game, he's DQ'd, so he's not even in the challenge. I was just going to let
COVID will hit. We'll miss a game.
Yeah, that's so true.
Well, true. Hey, and one more thing: was it Matt? Was it you, or was it Ben that was saying something about like odd years or something that the Vikings played better? Was it?
No, that's what it is. Since Zimmer's come, the odd years, I believe we've made the playoffs every year, and the even years we've not made the playoffs. But very weird. But this is an odd year. 2021, boys.
Okay.
Math is simple. Chalk it up.
Yeah, math is simple. We'll have to maybe in a few weeks just make some Super Bowl predictions too, and you can elevate and escalate your predictions with the Vikings at that point. So, all right, thanks, Matt. How about you, Don? What do you got for the old Vikings?
Well, I think since this is an odd year, I think I'm going to say 9-8.
Nice.
9-8. That is if our boy Captain Kirk can stay off the COVID list. So
that's all done in the preseason. We took care of that.
So is that 9-8 and making the playoffs and doing well?
I don't know if that it might. Yeah, that should probably make.
Or is
the playoffs,
that 9-8 9-8, and they're going to have to,
Well, yeah, they're not going to win anything in the playoffs. They'll get bounced the first week of the first week.
Is there expansion of playoffs this year?
No, I don't think so.
Is it the same as it was? So we just added a game, but there's no.
Yeah, we dropped a
playoffs
preseason and then we added a game. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't recall. I know they've been in the mood to change a bunch of stuff since COVID hit, especially.
By the
sports,
way, who likes that? Who likes the 17th game?
No,
I don't like it at all.
No.
I like the 16. Just play 16.
Yeah, 16 for the
if
records
anything,
and all that stuff.
Drop a
right.
preseason game. But why are we
money?
All about the
Benjamins.
I guess we got to make we got
to be a reason for the strength of money. Little AVB kicking. I got some truth, man.
It's good. Thank you. That was a blessing to hear. Jeremy, what do you got?
Yeah, 10 and 7. 10 and 7. I was I was one game more optimistic than done.
Okay. 10 and 7. So we got 10 and 7, 9 and 8, 13 and 4.
I got a question for Jeremy. Being in Scotty,
Scotty.
What is the record going to be against the Pack? The 2 games against the Pack. What do you think?
You betcha. We're probably here in the Green Bay area. We're gonna go 2-0 against them.
Oh dear Lord.
Yeah. And here's another thing, okay? You think I'm crazy. I really don't. I mean, Green Bay, whatever. It's everybody worships Green Bay Packers here. But I do think because Aaron Rodgers is on his way out next year, they will win the Super Bowl this year.
Really? You're calling the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl this year?
Yep. And I know it's not part of calling our shot, but already chalk me down when we do it.
Not a
Packers.
Chance. They've had 2 13-3 seasons. They are going to fall flat. They're going to fall flat.
Aaron Rodgers is out. It's going to be unbelievable because people are ticked about him, and then I know it's backwards, but it's going to happen.
You're saying Green Bay is going to go 2-0 against the Vikings, right?
2-0 against the Vikings. They're going to play unbelievable. They're going to win the stinking NFL Super Bowl.
All right, good. Okay, well, I'm going to split the difference between Don and Jeremy. I'm going to go 9, 7, and 1 for the Vikings.
Who are they tying?
Who's the tie?
Who's the tie?
I'm going to say the Packers in Minneapolis.
Oh, terrible. Oh, I hate ties. So stupid. Have like a field goal kickoff at the end. Something like do not end in a tie.
Right.
You don't play an athletic contest to tie. That is dumb. It's the stupidest thing.
So, yeah, I'd like to be a little bit more optimistic and even go somewhere between Jeremy and Matt, but I just can't do it. I should. I think our line will be better, but I love Kirk Cousins as a character, but I just don't have a lot of faith in his ability to take us far.
All he's got to do is hand the ball off to DC. We got the DC comic in the backfield, and that boy's going to fly through the defense like butter,
that guy is
like a knife through butter.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, if he stays healthy, that's again. I'm hinging a lot on health, but he is amazing.
Just like the Twins, we're good.
Pitching, I missed that one. Sorry.
Yeah, well, hey, it's really not your fault. Buxton, it would have been nice if he could have played a little bit this year too, right?
He's back. He's back.
He's back.
Yeah, we're actually winning games now. We're actually winning series against winning teams. It's wild.
Amazing how that worked.
Did they win today? They sweep the Brewers?
No, they didn't. Okay. No. Still 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Yep. So. Okay. Well, that's calling your shot. We'll come back with some Super Bowl playoff predictions maybe in the next few weeks. So we'll turn it over to Don with trivia now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. The time has come.
Yeah, I hear you, Shafe. I hear you.
All right. I'm about to either lose my mind or curse you all. I don't know which one it is. All right, boys, here we go. You guys, but you 2 clowns over on my left-hand screens better have show up today because there's no excuse for you.
Reach.
This is so stupid. I hate it already. I'm with Jeremy.
Guys, listen, it wasn't that long ago. It was like Jeremy and me in the playoffs for one week, and then Matt and I were in the playoffs. I don't know what's happened in the last few weeks. You can do it. I've got faith in you.
Inquiring minds want to know. That's for sure. Not sure if I'm one of them, but
all right. Tonight's initials are C.
Oh boy.
Oh, PC. Here we go.
All right.
CC.
Yeah. Closed circuit to DG. This sucks already.
Look at him. He's on fire already. He's already putting CC words to the closed circuit. He's tuned in.
I like it.
Matt, good start. What about your common courtesy?
Nice. Write that one down too.
That's number one. That's my answer. 1-0.
Boy.
All right, here we go. Item number one. Item number one. Clue number one. Depicted as mostly blue and gray. Clue number two. Connected to a school tax, income tax, and life insurance.
Jeremy.
Please, Jeremy, please get it.
Go ahead, sir.
Child credit?
I'm sorry, that is incorrect.
All right.
All right. Clue number three. This can advance you. Clue number four. Connected to a beauty contest prize.
Hold on a sec. Jeepers. Okay.
Clue number five. Included a bank error in your favor.
Matt.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes. Community chest.
That is correct.
Oh, holla at you, boy. Yes.
I decided I'm going with the first thing. If I hear a clue, I'm just going to go. It doesn't matter.
I like it.
Yep,
aggressive,
Matt.
Jeremy. We're going to.
That's right.
Right. That's it.
Ryan's
Don't
going
be aggressive.
It's a crazy start to it, but we're okay. It's good.
Good match.
I think we're in it.
Ryan just went to open the file that Don sent him earlier, so now he's going to house us all.
No, Jeremy, we're in his head. We're in his head now. Let's keep it like we're aggressive. We're playing. We're attack mode. Let's go.
Item number two. Clue number one. Connected to a 1987 controversy involving the Star of David. Clue number two. Debuted in 1971. Clue number three. His first name is Alfred. Clue number four. Most often seen during autumn mornings. Clue number five. Connected to the color of brown. Clue number six. Marshmallows are found in this classic monster cereal.
Ryan.
Go ahead, sir.
Count Chocula.
That is correct.
Man.
Count Chocula.
Alfred
Chocula. That's apparently his first name.
Wow.
What's the Star of David controversy?
Yeah, that's
back in 1970. I vaguely remember this, but I do remember it. It was back in that was the year was 1987. They put a picture of the actual Dracula coming up from behind of Alfred Chocula. So the real Count Dracula, and he had on him a medallion, and it was actually the Star of David. And so obviously the Jewish
interesting
people did not like that too much. Didn't want to see a blood-sucking man be associated with the Jewish people. So
yeah,
understandable.
And admittedly, I was scooping out the Sam's Club deals for September, and I did see they have that 3-pack of those cereals, Boo Berry, Frankenberry, Count Chocula, on sale for $4.98. Just a heads up there.
Heads up. Thank you, sir.
That's breaking news right here from Six in the Mix. Nice work, Ryan.
All right, Ryan with 1, Matt with 1. Here we go. Item number 3, clue number 1. Was seen in the 1980s. The gods must be crazy. Clue number 2. Jimmy Dugan had one of these on the bus. Clue number 3. Superman threw General Zod into this image. Clue number 4. One of these startled E.T. in 1982. Clue number 5. Its iconic logo is red and white. Clue number 6.
Ryan.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Candy cane?
Nope. Sorry, that is incorrect.
Sweet.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm really, man, we're ticked.
Yeah. Come on, Jeremy. We need you.
And I have no clues.
Let's say, we got one more clue. Don, read it slowly.
All right, clue number 6. During Christmas, the bears are often seen drinking this.
Bears.
The Christmas bears.
Stop the countdown. You're not.
What did I get?
Jeremy.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Just going to go with Coco.
Nope, sorry, that's incorrect.
It was close enough.
That resets the clock. That resets the clock.
Yeah, well,
can you repeat that?
Matt, I'm
Which
buying
clock?
you time.
Can you repeat that last? Can you repeat that last clue, please?
You just start up the music. Come on, man.
I'm gonna take the Biden pose.
Cue the music. We need silence. It's been an emotional week. Hold on.
The Bears do this in Christmas. What Bears? The Berenstein Bears? The Chicago Bears? The I don't know what Bears are for Christmas.
I think it's the three bears.
All right,
I'll
Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola.
Oh, the polar bears. God,
got to be kidding me.
Nice.
Oh,
isn't that 3 C's though? That's a little deceiving. Coca-Cola. No,
oh, there's only 2.
Oh, okay, all right. That middle consonant got me. Stupid.
All right, boys.
Oh, did you hear Coco? I said Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I got
Run the tape back. I think Jeremy got it. Oh boy. All right,
here we go. Item number 4. Clue number 1. Was once played by Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Clue number 2. Connected to the spreading of smallpox. Clue number 3. Connected to the month of October. Clue number 4. Connected to the old world.
Old world.
Clue number 5. I'm sorry. Clue number 5. Spent time on the Santa Maria.
Ryan.
Matt.
Oh. I'd have heard Matt.
That's what I heard too. I agree.
I heard Matt.
Jeremy, what'd you hear?
Oh, Matt, clearly.
3v1.
All right, Ryan, go ahead.
Christopher Columbus.
That is correct.
What was his role with smallpox? Are they saying that he brought it over?
Yeah, didn't they have an infestation of smallpox on the Santa Maria when it?
Yeah, I don't recall that, but yeah. Okay.
All right. Ryan's with 2, Matt with 1. Here we go. Right. Item number 5, clue number 1. Connected to a pet named Murphy since 1945. Clue number 2. Appeared in Back to the Future 2. Clue number 3. Was featured in the documentary Catching Hell. Clue number 4. Connected to Henry Rowengartner.
Oh, that name rings a bell.
Yeah, as did the 2 other previous clues.
Clue number 5. Appeared in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Clue number 6. Wear red, white, and blue, and also connected to a Cubs fan named Steve Bartman.
Matt.
Go ahead, Matt.
Chuck E. Cheese.
No, that's incorrect. I even gave you the name in the clue. I thought I could get that by you.
Wow.
Steve Bartman.
Ryan.
Yeah.
Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, you don't get that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Time was up already.
Yeah, time was way up. Yep, way up. Agreed.
I counted 1, 2, 3, 10. You're done.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah, I think if you would have just said Steve Bartman, I could have figured it out. But when you said Chicago, he's the one that caught the foul ball over Maurice Alou. Yeah. I know the story.
Yeah. He's a Cubs fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the one that got all those death threats, right?
Yeah, yeah,
that was
the
World Series that happened, or
it was the series before the World Series. Taking him to the World Series.
Okay,
yeah.
So
it was the National League pennant. Yeah,
I didn't remember the name.
Man, I remember I watched that game and I remember that happening. And I just remember feeling really bad for that guy because I'm like, that was not good because that was in Chicago. It was in Chicago.
Yeah, that guy had to go into witness protection. I think he had a rough go of it for a couple of years.
Wow,
man.
All right, still in the game, Jeremy. We're still in the game, bud.
All right,
that's it.
All right, item number 6, clue number 1. Appeared in Beavis and Butthead Do America.
Could you list more shows or movies or documentaries I've never watched?
He's just doing all these movie things because I don't know any movies.
Yeah.
Connected, clue number 2, connected to Stanford University. Clue number 3 is an only child. Clue number 4 was part of the official U.S. delegation at the 2000 Olympic Summer Games in Sydney. Clue number 5 was frequently seen at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Brian.
Go ahead, sir.
Chelsea Clinton.
That is correct.
Wow.
All right.
All right.
Could
Down
be
to
it.
Matt, right?
Down to Matt. Matt, if you don't get this one, it's over.
Yep. Familiar territory. Go, let's do it.
All right. Here we go. Item number 7, clue, or 6. Is it 7 or 6? I can't.
7. It's
7.
gotta be
Yeah.
7.
Item number 7, clue number 1. Was part of a 1984 Wham song.
A what song?
Wham, the group, you know, that come on, that's a great group. Clue number 2, mentioned in the Huey Lewis, you remember the Huey Lewis band, right? Huey Lewis and the News song The Power of Love. Clue number 3. In the 1990 film Richard Gere starred in, he quoted as saying, "Stores are never nice to people. They're nice to these." Clue number 4. Connected to the slogans, priceless, everywhere you want to
Brian.
be. Go ahead, Ryan.
Credit card.
That is correct.
Oh, man.
Brilliant! 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 Brilliant!
Amazing. It's just always in anticipation. What will happen during trivia? I've got no idea.
Oh,
GG, my brothers. GG.
We need to bring.
I'll
Ben,
give you
Ben,
GG.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need Ben back, but we need to have some of these people who listen to us and have one of your clues, and they've got it. We've got to have somebody come on that can rival Ryan.
Right. Yeah. Why not Chris Carter? Why not Circuit City? Why not Cotton Candy? Why not?
Candy,
Like, why not?
I had that.
Yeah,
I had that written
right.
down.
Right.
Candy.
Why not?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's okay. It's all right.
It was a good one. I had Charlie Chaplin down.
I did
too.
have this, which I don't think is actually CC. Is Karch Karai? That is Karch Karai a CC? Now, when you said delegation,
I'm
of Sydney,
pretty
I was
sure it's
thinking,
KK.
hey, maybe. Yeah,
I think it's KK.
he was
What?
way off. How
Same
how
sound.
Who was? How did Chelsea Clinton get in? Was she just part? I mean, she just represented the U.S. Was that Clinton's? When was Sydney? I forget. When was Sydney?
Was that 92?
Was
No,
it?
not 92.
No, 2000.
2002. Yeah. What was it?
Yeah, it was during. Okay.
So they were prominent, right? He was what, governor at the time? Was he governor?
2000 Olympics. 2000 Olympics. Yep.
He was probably
He
governor
was
of
still
what?
president. He was still
He
president.
was still president. Yeah, he was president.
Hey, and
Oh, yeah, he was before. Yeah, that's right. He was before Bush, right? Good call.
right. So speaking of Clinton, I don't want to break into something else here, but what's going on with the Lewinsky bubbling up thing here happening? Is there some big show or something, or some documentary that's hitting the fan?
Yeah, I think so. It's like a mini series, I think, is what I read. So
Okay, so it's
Yep.
based on the story, or what, or is it actually?
yeah, I think it's focused on the scandal with
Interesting.
Bill and Monica. Yep.
Huh.
Or it's going to touch on it in a pretty,
I wonder if Chelsea's part of that delegation. You don't think so?
All right. Moving into fix.
She's probably part of the fact checkers.
Yeah, right.
I would sign on to that notion. Yes.
And one more thing. How happy is Joe Biden's son right now that he's not in the spotlight? All of a sudden his art and everything else just kind of gone. Just like, thanks, Dad.
Yeah, thanks for botching that one.
Help me out a ton. Oh my goodness.
Well, we've covered a number of things that we need to pray about for sure, and we're going to move into that. We're actually going to take a look at a passage, and I think we picked this one just with all the things going on in the world. You know, whether it's the Afghanistan crisis or the hurricanes or the crisis at the border. You know, COVID-19 seeming to come back up with his Delta variant. Just a lot of things that are cause for concern. And so we decided let's take a look at Philippians 4, verses 4 through 7. And we're going to ask just a simple question. How does this passage help and encourage you to pray? And that's really the question we're going to ask. So I'm just going to go ahead and read it, and then we'll go in the order of Don, Jeremy, Ryan, and Matt. I'm just kind of sharing some thoughts on that. So Philippians 4, verses 4 through 7, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. So starting with Don, just the question is, how does this passage help and encourage you to pray?
Well, I really like those last two verses. I think it was be anxious for nothing. And those are the peace that passes all understanding. Struggling with anxiety. I've been learning to live with it. And this is a verse that I have posted everywhere I can on my phone, anywhere. And I also think it's relevant in today's terms as well. And as we pray for our nation, as we pray for peace, as we pray for unification, as we pray for all these things, I think that in verse 7, it really hits home because, everybody in this world is searching for peace. We're searching for peace from something. It's on the critical race theory stage. It's on the Afghanistan stage. It's everywhere. And everybody is screaming and crying for some type of utopian peace that the world is searching. And it's not going to magically appear if we just by happenstance to succumb to our white guilt, or we realize that every law and every form of law and order is born out of racism. But the Bible tells us that in that verse 7, it says that the peace that surpasses all understanding can only be found through him. It is that peace that will guide our hearts and minds. And if we're not searching out that peace through our prayers, if we're not asking for that, then we are going to be lost. We are going to be adrift. We are going to be that ship in the night, just completely off course. And it's the same peace that unites all of us. It's the same peace that unites Jew and Gentile. In Ephesians 2, man, I love this chapter. And I've been looking at this chapter more and more. I love Ephesians 2. And it talks about how the Jew and Gentile unite. And mankind has been reconciled to God through the cross, and by which, he put to death our hostility, Ephesians 2:16. And with prayer, I think we as a nation, we as a country, we as a community, we as Christians need to center ourselves around prayer, because that is only way we are going to be able to have that peace that passes all understanding. And through that peace, it will unify and be the great reconciler.
That's some great feedback. Thanks for pointing our eyes to even Ephesians 2. That's a great chapter. It's good. Jeremy.
Well, I have to say that this summer I just committed to when I read scripture, I've been trying to just not read just a small passage, because I've done that most of my life. And I've tried in the New Testament particular to read through the entire book when I'm reading, and then kind of let the whole book sink in. And this summer, I let Philippians and Ephesians, which, by the way, Don, my son just told me that Ephesians 2 was his favorite passage today. He just told me that today.
Wow.
So, hey, that's a win for my team there, but it's a great passage. But going back to Philippians, I can't help but think of the prayer Paul first gave the Philippians and his affection for them. And I just want to put that to our listeners as well. He says in verse 9 of chapter 1, and this is my prayer, that your love may abound more and more in knowledge and depth of insight, so that you may be able to discern what is the best, and may be pure and blameless for the day of Christ, filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ, to the glory and praise of God. And if you put that and just kind of put a comma and go right to the end prayer that we're looking at here in Philippians 4, he gives some instructions. He gives some things that the Philippians were struggling with. And he says, again, hey, imitate me. I'm walking the right way. Pay attention to that. He gives some encouragement to some young men or some men. And Paul ends with, hey, follow my example. And then he comes up with this. So he's kind of crescendoing. He's saying, look, all of the information that you need and the righteousness and the fruit of righteousness and the purity that you're searching for, that cuts through all the garbage of today, no matter what it is. Because in their life, they had the same stuff, not exactly how it's, fleshing out in our day and age, but their minds and their hearts were just as confused, because Satan's the author of confusion. And he says, look, you need discernment. You need to know what pure righteousness is, and you need to know how to get there. And let me tell you, praying that your love and your growth in this area will be able to knife through to truth every single time. And I believe that's why we as believers can, in chapter 4:4, rejoice always, because there is no other way. If you look at the earth right now and in the world, nobody can rejoice always. I mean, we can't even laugh for a few minutes. I mean, we do here in the podcast, and that's great. But I tell you what, I laugh more here than, generally speaking, the most of my week, because the most of my week is putting out fires and doing other things, and it's just tough. But I know that in my heart of hearts, that if I am able to pursue righteousness, pursue Christ the way that I am supposed to, with that direct link of prayer, I can rejoice always. I can have that fellowship with God, and that spills out to my relationships with mankind. So let me just encourage you that the two prayers that Paul gives in this book are highly important.
That's good. Another great chapter, and just encouragement to get the whole tone and the whole purpose of the book in what we're reading too. That's really good. Ryan, how does this passage help and encourage you to pray?
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of had a cheat sheet for this, because as Jeremy mentioned, looking at the whole context, is actually the book of Philippians is what our family, we've been working our way through for the past several weeks, and we just got through this passage actually. So we've been looking at a booklet. Just goes through the themes of Philippians, and it's been really, really great to see the focus on unity. And of course, as Paul here, finishing up this letter to the Philippians, closes out, he's got some last minute pointers, right? He's talking about unity between Euodias and Syntyche at the start of the chapter. And then he gets into some things that clearly matter to him. And Matt, when you read through the passage, what struck me, we were always told, hey, never use absolutes. But how many absolutes did you mention? All, everything. I mean, I think I counted about 4 of them, which covers the breadth of life as things concern us. And so when we hear this command, it's not just advice, it's a command. Do not be anxious. I think we do live in a sin-sick world, and in the sin-sick world, I will posit that we are always going to have something to be anxious about. You turn on the news, and it won't be 10 seconds before you're going to find something to have concerns over, legitimately. And then he says, in everything, and here's one of those absolutes, by prayer and supplication, bring to God. And so this covers all of life. And I like how he couches it with thanksgiving. I don't know about you guys, but I'm guilty of this, where I just want to bring all my requests, all my petitions to God, trying to be more mindful of bringing that thanksgiving to him, recognizing what he's done, what he is doing, and certainly worthy of that. And so I think that's one of those phrases that could get easily overlooked, but just an attitude of gratitude as we approach our Father. And then the last thing for me, just noticing the end result, and Don alluded to this mind-surpassing peace, to alleviate this is great, right? The first command that bounces off here in this section, don't be anxious, but then he gives us this mind-surpassing peace, which will alleviate the same thing we're commanded not to do, which is worry. And so I love that. I love that we don't just get, hey, here's a problem that you shouldn't do, but oh, by the way, here's a solution to that. You pray, you bring it to God, and he's going to bring you a mind-surpassing peace. And reminded me of another passage in 2 Corinthians 1, 3-5. It says, blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort. My previous pastor down in Kansas City, I remember him saying this a couple of times, but it stuck with me in my head. So in this verse 3, we see he's the God who takes care of our sin problems as the Father of mercies, and he's the God that takes care of our sorrow problem with the God of all comfort. And so I'm thankful. I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful for this passage that tells us where to go when we can get tripped up and concerned, and rightfully so, by the things of this world. We're no different. Don talked about dealing with anxiety. Yeah, I think we turn on the news in my household, and it is so easy to get concerned. And then what's our response? Well, hopefully it is what this whole series is on, is to fix our eyes on the Lord and go to him.
Yeah, certainly some great thoughts. I'll just kind of wrap it up with a couple insights from my end. I think it's interesting that joy is commanded in this passage, and it's like a double command, right? Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice, right? He's repeating, but then he goes into explains why there is truly joy in that, because we know that there's trouble in the world, right? Jesus said that in this world you will have trouble, but rejoice. Again, that joy again that Jesus said, I have overcome the world. But I think when you take a look at it, and whether it's Ephesians or Philippians or any of the New Testament books, it's really talking about our joy is in knowing and trusting God. And I think that's his biggest appeal to us is say, sons, daughters, I have this. I've had this from the beginning of the world. I have it now. I will have it in the future, despite what comes. Even though there's challenging times, even though there's loss, there's pain, there's death. There's not ultimate death if you know me. So our joy is in knowing and trusting God. And I think that takes a huge weight off of our shoulders, right? We have certainly responsibilities that he's given us, but he has not abandoned us. He lives within us. He empowers us. That resurrection power is at work in us, which is just incredible. And I think you talked about, Ryan, kind of some of those absolutes. The challenge is in the word everything. In everything by prayer and supplication. So there's nothing too little, there's nothing too big, and everything by prayer and supplication. Bring your request to God. And I think the thing that stands out to me in verse 7, it's something I've been really trying to work on too, where it says, he will guard our hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. That, that image of that father, kind of Jeremy, as you were kind of being passionate about, I will protect my family. Like God protects us. He will guard our hearts. He will guard our soul. He'll guard our mind in Christ Jesus. And so the challenge, the title of the section is fix your eyes, right? This is what we do in this podcast, because ultimately at the end of the day, we need to fix our eyes on Jesus. And he promises he will guard our hearts and minds. And so I just like to close off this section or this podcast by reading through actually my wife's favorite hymn. Casey's favorite hymn is What a Friend We Have in Jesus. And I think it certainly fits with what's going on, and it fits with this passage. So what a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear, all because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Are we weak and heavy laden, cumbered with a load of care? Precious Savior, still our refuge. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Do your friends despise, forsake you? Take it to the Lord in prayer. In his arms he'll take and shield you. You will find a solace there. Blessed Savior, thou hast promised, thou will all our burdens bear. May we ever, Lord, be bringing all to thee in earnest prayer. Soon in glory, bright, unclouded, there will be no need for prayer. Rapture, praise, and endless worship will be our sweet portion there. Amen. That's a wrap on episode 40 on this, the 29th day of August, year of our Lord, 2021.
This was Six in the Mix, talking faith, family, sports, and politics. Find our episodes on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast content. Review us and leave a comment. Visit our Facebook page at Six in the Mix Podcast and comment on what topics you'd like us to discuss. We are also on Twitter at Six in the Mix Pod. Join us on our journey.